Are you a current or future physician assistant wanting to learn more about finances? Then join me on this journey to become a PA the FI way. Hi, my name is Kat, and I'm a practicing certified physician assistant who will be your host. It took me 5 years after I started practicing medicine as a PA to thoroughly dive into my personal finances after I discovered the concept of financial independence. I want to use what I have learned to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I have made while sharing some of the financial wins that I have had along the way. Join me as we discuss financial strategies to guide you to becoming a physician assistant on the way to financial independence. Welcome back, everyone, to the PA the FI Way podcast. I'm your host, Kat, and thank you so much for joining me for today's show. In this episode, I want to review different tips and strategies that you can implement to overcome the dreaded analysis paralysis. Additionally, at the end, I'm going to share information about a tool that can help you with making decisions, and it's a resource that you can use, play around with, and see if you find it helpful as you are trying to make different decisions in life. Before I talk about different tips to overcome analysis paralysis, let's first talk about what it actually is and what some of the causes are, some of the symptoms, and things like that. Analysis paralysis really comes down to overanalyzing and overthinking different situations, different decisions, and it really limits and prevents you from making a decision or taking action. Often this can lead to actually having fear of making the wrong choice and trying to make the perfect choice all the time. Some of the underlying causes of analysis paralysis really come back to having an overwhelming amount of options, having too many choices, fear of making mistakes and making the wrong decision, seeking perfectionism, trying to find the perfect answer, the perfect decision, the perfect solution, and also lack of information, feeling as though you need more data, more information to make a good and informed choice overall. Some symptoms of analysis paralysis look like overthinking, feeling stressed and anxious, inaction, and not being productive. Where might you have had analysis paralysis in your life, or where may you encounter analysis paralysis at different points of your life? Well, some of the bigger life questions could lead you to analysis paralysis, such as, should I marry this person I love? Should we buy a house? Where should we move? Should I change jobs? Should I change into a different specialty? Should we have kids? But analysis paralysis can come up so often with decisions that aren't even as major as those. They can come up in everyday decisions, yearly decisions, monthly decisions. For example, where should I open my high yield savings account? Which brokerage company should I use for my Roth IRA? Which low cost broad-based index fund should I invest in? Or should I invest in an ETF? Where should we go on vacation this year? Where should we go to dinner tonight? As you can see, analysis paralysis can really creep in many areas of life. So what are some tips and strategies to overcome analysis paralysis so that you aren't wasting your time and that you are actually taking action and making decisions? These tips can really help you feel less stuck and less overwhelmed and less stressed overall. So I'm going to review 10 tips with you. The first is to set clear goals and clear priorities in life. What are the actual goals of what you want for your life? What do you want your life to look like? What do you prioritize and value in your life? What is your overall why for thinking about this decision? What is your overall why for trying to pursue financial freedom? The next step is to limit your options. For example, if you take a really broad question of where should I go on vacation this year, there are literally so many countries, so many states, so many cities that you could visit. Well, you might want to limit your options by picking the type of weather that you want to experience, the type of landscape you want to see, the type of activities you want to do, or maybe you want to remove the places that you have already visited and only go to a new place. There are a lot of different ways that you can limit the options of where you'd like to travel for the year. Let's apply this to medical specialties. What type of specialty do you want to work in? Your rotations and education likely helped you narrow down some of your specialties. And then also talking with friends, classmates as well. They likely have some insight as to which type of specialties that they enjoyed, and you can listen to the why behind it. No matter the specialty, it's essential they have a supportive team that really nurtures and fosters your growth and your learning in that role. But if you know that you absolutely love procedures, that can help limit the specialties where you wouldn't be doing procedures, or vice versa. If you really hate doing procedures all day long and enjoy other specialties where you don't do procedures, then that can help you limit your options. But limiting your options and narrowing down your choices to a manageable number already helps you with feeling less overwhelmed and less stressed. The third tip here is really essential. It is where you actually set a time limit for your decisions. Again, if it's a quick decision, you can set a timer of 15 minutes to decide that decision. If it's a bigger life decision, you could give yourself a few months. But it's important that you actually set a timeline. Otherwise, this decision could be an ongoing process and you never make around to actually making the decision. Next, let's talk about the next tip of embracing imperfection as you're making the decision. So again, many of us working in healthcare can tend to be on the side where we have some perfectionism tendencies, but it's really important that you accept that no decision is 100% absolutely perfect, and making a decision and going through with it is better than sitting there in analysis paralysis and not doing anything at all. Focusing on progress over perfection can help you move forward with this decision. And also remember that perfect is the enemy of good. Making many good decisions in life can overall lead to a great life. The next tip is to break down your decisions into smaller, more manageable decisions and steps overall. For example, you likely did this when you thought about choosing the PA career or another career in medicine, where you thought of a lot of different career options, but then before you could make a decision, you had to break down that process into smaller, more manageable steps. You had to try out different classes in high school and college. You had to do some research. You had to do some shadowing. So think about how you can make the overall big decision accumulation of smaller, more manageable decisions. The sixth tip that I would recommend is to actually take the decision out of your hands completely. And what that means is to automate decisions. Instead of having to decide every single month how much to put towards your student loan debt or how much to invest, take the time to set up those payments automatically. Pick a aggressive, larger amount that you can live with and automate. This will help to reduce friction. You don't have to decide every month how much to put in. You don't actually have to make the decision to actually go in and invest or pay off your debt. So for any of those types of decisions, remove them completely from your plate by setting up the process on automation. The seventh strategy that I have for you for overcoming analysis paralysis is to actually consider the opportunity cost if you don't make a decision. Some examples are when you just delay and delay and delay opening a Roth IRA account and actually start investing, or you delay increasing your contribution to your 401k, or you delay investing in your HSA, you are missing out on compound interest over time. And the opportunity cost of not investing means that you are delaying the point at which you reach financial independence, or the point at which where you can cut back on your hours at work. Or maybe you are wanting to invest in real estate, but you aren't liking where the market is at right now, and you are just sitting with this giant amount of cash in the bank, or ideally a high yield savings account. Well, if you just keep delaying over and over again and passing up properties that work with the numbers, but they don't feel like they're absolutely perfect for you, the real estate market might just keep going up, and you might have the opportunity cost of having to actually spend more on a decent property. The eighth tip that I have for you is to reflect on your past decisions. Think about your past decisions that you made in your life. Are there any similar decisions that you made that you can reflect back on and learn from your past decisions to carry forward into making this decision? Do you have insight to help make this decision-making process easier and more streamlined for you? And one thing that's important when you reflect back on your past decisions, think about throughout your life, have you ever made a decision that was truly damaging to your overall life and was truly an absolutely horrible decision. Sure, we can all have some regrets here and there about our life, but most of us have not made horrible decisions where we've ended up in prison or have ended up homeless or in financial ruin or devastation. So remind yourself that you have made great decisions in the past. You can make a great decision right now with this decision that you're trying to make. I'm confident that you are smart and wise and have the ability to make a decision that will work well for your life. The 9th tip that I have for you for analysis paralysis is to just go ahead and take action. I've mentioned this quote before that I absolutely love. It is action creates clarity. If you sit in analysis paralysis and don't have any action, you are left feeling completely unclear with what you should be doing, what your life should look like, what your next steps are. Taking even one small step of action provides clarity. You can always adjust as you need to. Take the small step of action, even if you aren't entirely sure if it's the right choice, and remind yourself that this will not ruin your life. You can always pivot and make a different decision if you need to. But the point is you need to start somewhere and you need to take action or you will always be feeling unclear. So remind yourself that action creates clarity. And then the 10th and final tip that I have for you will lead into me explaining this tool that I've come across that can help you with making decisions. And that is to use a decision-making framework. There are a lot of different types of decision-making frameworks out there. And one very popular, commonly used one that you very likely have used throughout your life is to make a pros and a cons list, or a green flag and red flag list, however you want to describe it. You put all the positives in one column, all the negatives in the other, write them down, look at them, talk through them, and look at the data in front of you to make a decision. I really like pros and cons lists, but for some decisions, they just don't quite cut it. And for me personally, those have been the bigger life decisions that seem to have lots of great positives for all of the options and very few negatives, for example. So the tool that I want to share with you is called a weighted decision matrix. And I'm going to include an online weighted decision matrix calculator that I came across in the show notes for you today. So what the weighted decision matrix calculator helps you with is that it gives you a weighted score when you are trying to make a decision. So first of all, you have to clarify what your actual question is, what the decision is that you're actually trying to make. You need to narrow that down, right? That goes back to the first step is you need to be clear on what your question and what your goal is. For example, you could ask the question, which specialty should I go into? Or you could ask the question, which job offer should I accept? Or you could ask the question, which house should we move into if you are touring different houses? Or you could ask the question, which car should I buy? Lots of different questions that you can utilize this decision matrix for. The next thing you need to decide is which of the decision-making factors are actually important to you. For example, jobs. One of the important things might be how close it is to your home. Another one could be the overall pay, salary, benefits, those types of things. The other one could be how supportive the team is. Another factor that might be important to you is whether you can do procedures or not. Or perhaps if there are telemedicine opportunities in that specialty or in that role or not, if you like telemedicine. If we're talking about a house or a car, you could list things like cost. For a house, you could talk about the location. Is it close to friends or family? The square footage, how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has, what the outside looks like, how big the property is it on a lake or on the beach? Or is it close to the beach? How far away it is into town? Talking about the car, how many miles are on it, and then the different types of features that you care about. Once you've decided what those decision-making factors are that you care about for the decision, you need to weight them. And what that means is you assign it a weighting score. For example, the things that you care more about, they are weighted more heavily than the things that you care less about. If you recognize the value of having a supportive team environment, you would want to weight that one heavily. If you don't mind commuting and don't really care about how far the commute is, you would weight that one lower. For the example of a car, if you care about the specific model because you know it'll be reliable, you'll weigh that one heavily. And if you don't care about the color, you'll weigh that one lower. So you go through and assign all of those decision-making factors a weight. Then in the next several columns, you list out your different options. So for specialty, you'll list out the specialties you're interested in. For the jobs, if you've interviewed at a few of them, you list out those specific jobs. For the car, you list out the specific cars you're looking at. For the house, you're listing out the specific houses that you're looking at. And again, try to limit this. You don't want to have many options because this is really to help you decide amongst your top few options. Once you have those columns in place, then you go across the rows with the decision-making factor, and then with the different options that you listed, you put in what your score is for that decision-making factor. The tool will then multiply that score by the weight that you gave that decision-making factor, and then it'll also add up the score overall. And that total score is what will show you has received the highest score. So it likely is the best decision based on all of the information that you put into the tool. So let's talk about specialties, for example. Let's say you gave doing procedures a really high weight of 10, and the first specialty you're considering is psych. Well, there are no procedures in psych, so you would give that a really low score. Then the next specialty is derm. So there are a lot of procedures there. You'd give that a higher score as you're working your way across that. And then go to pay as the next option. What is the pay scale like for the different specialty? What was the weight that you gave it? And again, the tool will help you calculate that option as well. So this tool is an attempt to try to make the decision-making process more objective by really having you sit down and figure out which of those decision-making factors you place a higher weight on compared to others. At the same time, a lot of this information is actually a bit subjective as you're entering it, so that is a limitation. But it really does force you to think about what you truly want and what you truly prioritize, and it can help you with making some of these decisions where the pros and cons list just seems so incredibly close that it's very challenging to decide which one you're leaning towards. And the next thing that I want to wrap up with this discussion is a reminder that when you are making a decision and when you are thinking about your future, you absolutely do not have to pick the absolutely perfect decision that will be set in stone for the rest of your life. That is one thing that so many people get overwhelmed about, is when they're thinking about their future and trying to think about all the decisions and major life decisions for their life. Remind yourself that you just need to make the best decision for you with the data that you have, with the information that you have, with the place in life that you are at. Make that decision and take action to execute it and see where it goes. It might be the decision that was set for you for the rest of your life. For example, for your job, maybe you decide between 3 jobs and you pick one job and it is the job that you are set in for the rest of your career. Or you pick the job because you've always wanted to try that specialty and it seemed like a good fit. Well, after a year or two, maybe you decide that absolutely this is not the specialty for me, or perhaps I like the specialty, but I'm not a fan of this current work environment with my current support staff or management, etc. And you decide to make another decision of going ahead and finding another job that fits better for your life. So I want to take the pressure off of you, especially new grad PAs. They have this overwhelming sense of pressure of feeling like they have to pick the absolutely perfect job that they're going to have for the rest of their career. And sure, we can all be optimistic and idealistic and think that might happen, but in reality, it's probably not going to happen. So again, make the decision to the best of your ability with the information that you have in that moment. Same with moving to a different place, to a different house, to a different state, to a different city. If it seems as though it is the best decision with the information that you have and it will improve your life and it's a financially sound decision, it's reasonable to go ahead and try it and see what you think of it, and remind yourself that you can move back to your community or back to the town that you're currently in if it was a poor decision for you for your life at that time. I really hope that the information in today's episode was helpful for you to overcome analysis paralysis. If you found this information helpful and you are working on a decision with your spouse, or you know a friend or a colleague that's trying to make a major life decision and seems to be stuck in analysis paralysis, go ahead and share this episode with them, as it may be just what they need to make a decision and take action. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you back here soon. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you decide to continue to join me along this journey of becoming a PA the FI way. Please take a moment to press the subscribe button on the platform that you are listening to this on, but more importantly, consider sharing with another current or future PA that could benefit from the information that we reviewed in this episode. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Until next time.